Ori action for you today. We now have, coming from the Eki division, the number 4 seed Raziel going against the number 20 seed MrRandomson in what will almost certainly be a hotly contested matchup. My name is still Vol'jin. I'm still here. Sorry, you can't get rid of me that easily. And I'm joined for the second straight match by my man Zik. Zik, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's been a long time, boy. It's been a long time.
Yeah, you know, I've really been missing getting to commentate with you, man.
So do we want to for 10 minutes? So do you want to start talking about our runners and what we have going on next?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the round of 32 upper bracket matchup from the Eki division, Raziel versus Randomson, and it'll definitely be a good one. Raziel is a very skilled player, put on a very good show in the group stage to claim the 4th seed. He's got a PB of a 29 and change. Actually, he achieved that in the tournament, PBing by under a second. Randomson, meanwhile, a little bit further behind. He has a low 31, if I remember correctly. And he's also a very skilled player. And Zik, normally that amount of deficit might be pretty insurmountable because of how good Raziel is. However, we've seen some evidence in past races that might give Randomson a chance, right?
Right. You know, Raziel did state beforehand, you know, does have some worry about this match coming up. You know, doesn't want this to end up like his match against Hobbs, just really wants to focus and get a really good run in. You know, Raziel has mentioned that his mouse broke earlier this week and he's been using, you know, different hardware, but he doesn't think that's going to be affecting today's race, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah,
we certainly hope not. The hardware issues affecting your race are really just kind of the worst. You'd much rather that it just came down to the execution and the knowledge and skills of each runner. And, you know, with regard to that race against Hobbs, in which both runners got 36s, that would be a really rough time for Raziel to have against Randomson. Randomson's PB being a full 2.5 minutes better than Hobbs's. So Raziel really can't afford to screw around here. He really needs to have a very solid performance. But as you do see on the screen there, he's had a 29 in the tournament. That was his PB. So he does have that capacity. We'll have to see whether he brings it to bear. It's like, what do you think we're going to see tonight?
I think we're going to see a really close race. I mean, though, you know, their PBs are, you know, a good 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes apart. Their average race times are within, you know, 30 seconds, and that could really show today.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I'm not 100% sure if for that specific stat on that screen we incorporate the bracket races. I assume we do, in which case, you know, that race against Hobbs kind of an outlier, but we'll see which Raziel shows up today, the 29 achieving beast or the one that had the 36 against Hobbs. For his sake, he's certainly hoping it's the 29. Oh, wow, look at that stat as we get started here.
As someone who is in the group stage with Raziel, I have no doubt that he will put on a show.
It will be a show.
There will be a race.
That's for sure. 2 players are present and they are playing the video game at the same time, and we have started doing that activity. They are both collecting the first energy cell, and pretty much neck and neck for now. There's no real difference between them, but you know, that is pretty common as we get to Spirit Flame.
Absolutely. And so, you know, right at the beginning here, I think it'd be worth mentioning that, you know, Raziel is not watching where his opponent is throughout the entire run. Randomson said he will have the restream open, but he doesn't know if he's going to watch it. He might ignore it if he wants to stay focused.
Right, which, you know, in this kind of match situation between such closely matched runners might be the entire match. Ooh, he misses a shot on one of his Frankies too, so just costs him about a second, giving Raziel that very brief advantage, but it is a decent likelihood that Randomson will just not even look at that restream. I know in the past, in some of those race situations, I haven't either.
Right, you definitely, you know, when you go into it, you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll watch it, and then, you know, especially in a, you know, high caliber race like this, you just end up getting so engrossed and focused on from the beginning that I'm sure he might not even be watching.
Well, Raziel having a quick slip there, and that could be a nerves kind of thing, but he just misses the jump onto that mushroom. So that gave Randomson the opportunity to take back the lead as he collects his first keystone here. He does get an energy drop from that frog, but fortunately it does not roll down the log. and we'll see whether he was able to get to 1 HP. It looks like probably yes for both runners. Oh god, nearly there.
MrRandomson having a slight slip up on the save for the Ghost Door. It's just really interesting to see that, you know, how the lead can change so easily in this beginning section by such small movement.
Yeah, I mean, there it is again. MrRaziel taking the lead another time, and he is going for this early health cell, which is still very common among runners, even in the top echelons of the game. It's just really nice to have, and no matter what, you have to collect at least 5 by the end anyway. So most runners opting for this health cell these days, and it's definitely a great idea for tournament races.
Absolutely.
The XP routing continues as both runners are at a pretty similar position on their XP, and they're both at a pretty similar position on their HP. They're just trying to manipulate their level ups. MrRaziel taking it on the way down. Randomson has gotten his XP so that he will get it on the way up. He actually has told us that he is going to possibly try for the slime genocide route, Zach.
Yeah, that will, you know, that'll be really interesting to see if he goes for that. That, you know, you don't really see that all too often, so, but it's a really interesting route to see.
Yeah, it's usually only the very top runners that are doing it, and a few exceptions like I think F. I mean, calling F not a very top runner is kind of a stretch, but at this point, you know, even a 32 doesn't put you in like the top 25, I think. So it's pretty crazy how hot the competition is for this game. But MrRaziel having a very slight lead on the way out, but not anything that Randomson can't catch up with some good play here.
Absolutely, and getting that level up on the way up, so both runners are moving along very nicely. You know, that's gonna make their experience numbers a little different, leaving the wall jump area, but nothing that they can't work with.
Yeah, Randomson's in particular, if he wants to do the slime genocide route, then he needs to have a higher XP count, and we're gonna know whether he's gonna do it based on, killing that slime almost definitely indicates it, but we'll see from when he picks up the 15 XP orb here or not. If he does, he's going for slime genocide. If not, then he will go for the standard route. Oh, there's your answer.
There we go. We're gonna be seeing the beautiful slime genocide route, which is a route I didn't know existed until the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's very, very new. Sigma came up with this route basically, I want to say the month prior to AGDQ, and it's a good alternative to taking this 100 XP orb that you'll see MrRaziel get. Mostly it's about the annoyance of picking up that orb, but also this route is faster because it allows you to get the optimal laser cycle in here, even while making a whole bunch of mistakes. So you have some time to spare. On MrRaziel's side, he'll be picking up this 100 XP orb. That prevents him from getting the fastest platform cycle. So he instead must do a save and reload, which means any mistake prior to this point is straight up costing him time.
Right, making that jump up to the ability cell seem completely trivial. I promise it's not.
Yeah, and Randomson, meanwhile, is showing you what it looks like to do the genocide, as he has already taken his level up. He's killed a whole bunch of slimes, collected their XP. He's right behind MrRaziel, but you will expect to see MrRaziel at the top here. Save and reload? Nope, just kidding. He is not even going to bother. Oh, Randomson's doing a save and reload. Did he miss his cycle? That is really curious.
Oh, he still misses it, though.
He could have made that jump. I'm kind of surprised. I think he would have been okay, but you know, Randomson being the player in the moment, he's the one that has to make the decision, and if he feels that he couldn't have made it, then that's really what matters.
Right, missing that jump could be pretty costly. Though having that save, you do have the option to reload if you miss the jump.
Well, that does allow MrRaziel to carry a little bit of a lead forward into this room with Dash, but it's not a huge one. Thinking maybe on the order of the 8 seconds that the Blackroot Burrow cyclists take, maybe a little more than that. But again, not insurmountable, but Randomson unfortunately losing a little bit of time where theoretically the genocide route would have optimally saved him some time.
Right, having that lead at the beginning can be very nice. It can give you a little bit of, you know, leeway in the later sections to maybe make a few small mistakes and not have to worry about falling further behind.
Meanwhile, we'd have Raziel doing his Darkness cutscene skip, not stacking. Neither is Randomson. If they were already planning on doing it, then they must have watched the race just now and realized that would be a terrible idea. So they're gonna go with a little more safe method. But now we're on to some Frankie Walk fun for both runners coming up shortly, and we'll see whether or not the Death Gauntlet has something to say about this difference so far.
Yeah, we'll see how either of them decide to tackle this Death Gauntlet moving forward. If, they'll both go for Death Glide. If neither will go for Death Glide.
Now, one unfortunate thing about the Genocide route that is coming into play for Randomson here is you actually have to kill multiple extra slimes on the way out of Blackroot Burrows depending on your initial count. And so he had to do that, which cost him some more time compared to what he even should have saved in Blackroot Burrows. But he is okay on health, so he'll be able to continue his Frankie Walk as Raziel is getting to the end of it. So maybe around a 15-second delta at this point, where it was 11 after dash.
Right, Raziel had, very nice movement with his Frankie. Randomson having a little bit of trouble, but, nothing too catastrophic.
Yeah, and Raziel cleanly making it through the Death Gauntlet. No incident there, which is good for everyone, except that incident right there. And he has a save in a very weird position, so that threw him off a lot. And now they are tied, thanks to that death. So that's a very unfortunate occurrence for Raziel, eating that dropping slime.
Very unfortunate you gave him the commentator curse.
Yeah, well, we're not going to treat it like that. We're going to treat it like that's his fault. You have to accept personal responsibility sometimes, Zach.
Okay.
Well, now we've got this Grotto cycle that can easily make a difference. Raziel coming in for it, gets it cleanly. Randomson coming in for it does not get it. So unfortunately,
it's going to separate these runners.
Yeah, it's another 8 seconds, like that magical number in Ori.
But I mean, we've been seeing this lead, almost pass back and forth. So who knows what could happen moving on.
Yeah, flip-flopping more than an American politician as they head into the double jump tree. Save for Randomson to get the ghost door here as Raziel throws down a save to get the cutscene skip on the tree, and Randomson comes in probably around 10 seconds behind. Pretty close, but just that little, non-trivial advantage for Raziel, where Randomson is just not quite able to make it up yet.
Right, in this section it can be very difficult to make up your time without your opponent making some sort of large mistake.
Of course, there's lots of those that could happen, so you never know.
Absolutely.
All right, we've got Grotto skip now for Raziel. He picks up the 15 XP, jumps to the wall, and cleanly makes his way up there.
Just says no to that 66% stat rate.
Well, Randomson has the same rate, so can he also pull it off first try? Yes. Beautiful. Boy, these two are just making this game look so easy, and it's so impossible, dude.
Oh, man, this is pretty impressive to watch so far. Both of them, it's just all the mistakes they've been making are very small and minute. This has been very excellent so far.
Yeah, I don't know if we talked about this during the open. I always get confused between what we talk about beforehand and what we talk about during. But Raziel is following the Terra 2 beers to relax strat prior to his race. This is something that Terra, often jokes about. This is his key to winning races. But Raziel actually did go for that. He took a couple beers and does seem to feel a little more relaxed and at ease. He also said he was getting sleepy as a result of that. But hopefully he won't at least fall asleep in the middle of his race.
We'll see if Raziel can, prove it that it's a viable strat for Ori.
Does take a little damage before his level up in the iceless area, so that means he just gets it refilled immediately. So he will still be at full health. Randomson is right behind here. That deficit is not really shrinking or growing too much. It's just basically the same. It was 9 seconds at double jump sec.
Yeah, he is hot on his tails. He is not giving up.
Raziel Had a little bit of a scare there with those spinnies, but does manage to get in. Bonks his head on the ceiling there, but you know, maybe in a more a bigger deficit of a race, you would say, okay, that bonk doesn't really mean anything, but against Randomson right now, it means actually he loses a second of his lead.
Right.
Oh, well, Randomson lost. Where do you think the next point we might see, like a significant change to this deficit happen?
Yeah, I'm feeling that we might see them stick together on this pace through the Ginso tree, but maybe on the Swamp Entry, or if not that, we might have to chalk it up to Kuro cutscene skip to balance this lead out.
Well, that would be something. The early Grotto cycle, of course, being a pretty challenging one of those. We talk a lot in Ori about movement and tricks as kind of a contrast, because there are kind of two games in a lot of ways. There's the movement, which is just, as you see from MrRaziel and Randomson right now, just cleanly executing these room strategies. And then there's the tricks, and that's stuff like the early Grotto cycle, which are just single points of failure where you can lose a bunch of time. And you saw early Grotto cycle already come into play. Maybe it will be Kuro cutscene skip. Maybe it will be Swamp Entry. We'll see. But for now, neither runner making any mistakes in this early section of Ginso. They're both playing very well.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, after the second room, MrRaziel decided to take the lower route, while Randomson took the upper route to that. Now, Bula, what are kind of the differences between those routes? Is one faster than the other?
Yeah, the lower route that MrRaziel took is about 1 second faster, if I understand the timing correctly. However, it does require taking a damage boost, and it is easier to flub that movement a little bit. When I say easier, it's probably only easier because most people are not used to it. But as you saw from MrRaziel, he was able to pull it off very well. So he's obviously put the time and effort into it and knows what he's doing. Randomson is working on his mini-boss, and the spawns gave him a little bit of trolling, but he is able to finish it up. I think that was a 6 cycle from him. No, I'm corrected that it was a 5 cycle, so that is good. But unfortunately, the deficit is still around the same, and maybe widened a little bit thanks to that trolling for the mini-boss.
Yeah, they're still just, holding steady with it. MrRaziel's just holding this lead here coming out of the Ginso tree, getting bashed now, and just, gonna be flying ahead now with his new skill.
I do like the use of the word flying, as that does seem to be what you do in a lot of this run with different skills, but largely bash and dash, allowing you to do that. And yeah, he had a little bit of trouble with his angle on one of those shots, but was able to get through and cannot set up the upper level key dupe here. He didn't kill his worm, and he didn't notice, so he actually is going to have to go back down and set it up from the bottom. That's a few seconds that Randomson is going to be able to catch up, but Randomson flubbing one of his double bashes here, so he is having to go for a slower strat as well, and he misses the shot. Oh boy, Zach.
We're seeing in every moment that one runner loses time, the other is just, being courteous and losing that time themselves.
Well, Randomson might want to stop doing that if he wants to have a solid chance here. MrRaziel is giving him some opportunities, but those aren't going to come forever. MrRaziel at some point is going to, put on the brakes and say, no, I'm winning this race. And Randomson needs to be able to have a position at that point to disagree and say, nope. Oh boy. Ooh.
Yeah, he's giving MrRaziel a bone here, and MrRaziel's just, taking off. He's saying, I'm not going to miss this opportunity to gain the lead.
Yeah, and he is now taking his teleporter to Swamp Entry, as Randomson is still finishing up his second path through the key section here. Does get very clean movement there, as well as the hyper speed, so that is good. But he is probably about 30 seconds behind right now, which is a pretty substantial deficit to have against an opponent as skilled as MrRaziel.
Absolutely, he's gonna have to really make up time moving forward in the next section. MrRaziel not skipping the cutscene with the lasers, so that's gonna leave some danger. But if there's anything we've seen today, is there's fun ways you can handle that.
Yeah, that's for sure. And fortunately for MrRaziel, that's only a 1 second loss compared to doing the cutscene skip. And now he's going for a Swamp Entry. He gets the floor broken, does not have any shots phased through, and now we are Wow.
Oh,
Why?
that is tragic.
You know what? I'll accept that as a commentator's curse. You can't, there's no personal responsibility for that one. That's just the game being full of crap. But he does get through on the second shot. So one miss caused by the game being kind of rude, but he does get in. Randomson now setting up his swamp entry with a safety save right beforehand. And we'll see how his goes.
Today is not the day for those shots and those floors.
As long as he doesn't, oh, but he misses a double bash, so that's costing him some of the time he could have saved over Raziel thanks to that weirdness. But he does get in, so now Randomson is also into Swamp. Again, probably about 30 seconds behind.
So Raziel, you know, leaving the Stomp tree here, we might see a little high five on the way out.
There they go, passing each other. So Randomson's heading into Stomp, Raziel heading out. And we do have some fun and challenging movement coming up that can cause some issues. Raziel's got his Frog ability cell coming up as well as the Kuro cutscene skip. So we'll see how he's going to do with those.
Yeah, this could give Randomson the chance he needs to catch back up, maybe. Ooh, does have some difficulty with the Frog here.
Wow.
It is sadly something that can happen. If you get to that Frog, he can just decide he wants to run away from you. You know, sometimes people decide they want to take an extra jump off the right wall there to get the delay the Frog so he takes a shot so he won't run away. But, you know, that is something that can happen.
He does get the successful dash glide over the laser. Randomson has been able to have a huge opportunity to catch up now, and he is taking advantage of it. First try on the Frog there. First try on the Kuro cutscene skip for Raziel. Now Randomson needs to make sure that he keeps pace. He can't miss this trick on his side. It's a very precise bash at a very specific spot, and he gets it. Very nice.
Wonderful. People were making that look very easy today.
It's not very easy, is it?
No, not at all. It's one of those things that, you know, you think you're doing everything right, and it just doesn't happen some days.
This is interesting. Both runners dropping a save pretty late, and as a result, not skipping this spider sack cutscene. So Randomson might have been able to know that Raziel didn't skip it and possibly react to that and opt to skip it himself, but instead, it's no difference to their deficit. It's still the same before and after.
Right, we're really unsure if Randomson is seeing where Raziel is at, whether constantly or just checking at all.
Yeah, and we know that Raziel is not. He has no idea, but he's got to feel like he is on pretty good pace here. He has had some mistakes, so he also probably does feel like there's a chance Randomson is close behind, which, by the way, he is.
Exactly, he knows he is no opponent to mess with.
An update from the folks in the truck. Thanks to them, we know that it is a 12-second difference as of the charge flame tree. You can see that pretty clearly as Randomson is right behind Raziel. Bashing that bird into the spikes will unfortunately cost him just another few seconds, but it's nothing compared to some of the major potential time losses that could still occur. So both runners need to continue playing very well and need to make sure that they don't make any major mistakes. And ooh, Randomson. Oh, boy.
Oh man. Yeah, that 12 seconds is nothing moving into, you know, this next section of just very complicated tricks when we have fast stompless moving right into Sorrow Bash.
Both runners rocking a 75% success rate with this trick. Raziel's shot looks like it has a very good chance. He is heading back to the cell as Randomson is heading up to the shot location. Raziel's shot hit. Randomson takes his shot. His angle also looks workable, but he decides that he doesn't like it because he is the one who's actually playing the game. Takes another one. Doesn't like that one either. Ooh, this is some time loss for Randomson right now. That hit the ceiling.
Hits the cliff. Oh, man.
This is a rough time for Randomson right now.
That one's going to hit the ceiling. Oh, yeah, he's having a rough time with this shot. But on the left here, Raziel is going to be taking his attempt at Sorrow Bash.
He needs to use just one bird here. He's going to do some double bashes. Randomson did not get the shot. Wow. That's really, really unfortunate for him.
That is very unfortunate.
And MrRandomson is in on a first try Sorrow Bash into Sorrow Pass with very skilled execution, whereas Randomson is going to have to go for the good old slow stompful.
Now MrRandomson is just moving right along, making, no mistakes.
I gotta wonder for Randomson if he, due to nerves, if he second guessed a lot of shots that actually were good, because some of those angles looked fine, but he said, no, that's not quite the one. And then the one he finally went with wasn't actually it. So I don't know, it's a tough trick, and it's very hard to guess exactly what was going through Randomson's mind, but unfortunately costing him a lot of time here.
Right, absolutely. Especially when, you start doubting 1 shot, 2 shots, then you're 3 or 4 shots in and you're like, my shot has to be perfect. So I've already, second guessed all of these, so it can be very tough.
Oh no, that was not a good rocket jump for Randomson either. These are some very uncharacteristic things for him to have problems with, but it may be that he looked over at the restream, he saw how close he was, and just kind of had, one of those moments, and that moment is carrying on a little bit longer than he wants, maybe.
So we'll see how he does here on his attempt at Sorrow Bash. Can he match that first try? Oh, and the bird into the spikes is definitely a rough one.
Yep, and at Kura's Feather, there was a 1 minute deficit. Unfortunately for Randomson, it's widening probably with this. So MrRandomson is not making the mistakes he needs, and Randomson is unfortunately making those mistakes instead, and that's going to make it very tough for him to catch up here, as we've really seen no indication that MrRandomson is going to have any problems whatsoever the rest of the way.
Right, fortunately for these runners, this is an upper bracket match, so there isn't the complete risk of knockout from the tournament.
That said, nobody wants to lose.
Absolutely.
All right, Randomson is in and up to the spike cave, collects his XP by dipping into a terrifying little nook, while MrRandomson is deep in Misty already, and he will be approaching the climb tree soon, his second to last skill of the game.
Yeah, and MrRandomson just on a tear in Misty Woods here, just really making it fly by. It's really awesome to see this. It's always impressive to see a really experienced runner go through Misty Woods.
Randomson setting up his Terror Break in the meantime, getting over back towards his ceiling. Normally you're supposed to stomp it from the top, but we can save right below it using Save Anywhere and then take a stored charge jump into it. He gets a good laser cycle as well, so that's good skilled play from Randomson, knowing how his lasers were going to be lined up. But MrRandomson, the term I like to use is beasting. He is beasting this run, as he has shown absolutely no flaws in his gameplay in the last, I want to say, 15 minutes.
Yeah, for a guy who, at the start of this was telling us he was, worried going into this, he is not showing it. He is just doing amazing right now.
But, it's certainly possible that in his last match he, had a little bit of overconfidence, based on his opponent's track record at that time. Whereas in this one, he's just thinking like, I've already given enough leeway to my opponents. I'm just going to make a statement here. And that can do a lot for your confidence, depending on the type of person you are. MrRandomson showing this is the type of person he is. A very skilled Ori speedrunner and very confident player in this situation.
Absolutely, and with that mini boss kill, just still making a statement.
Yep, you're gonna see Randomson doing a lot of the similar movement in Misty. He is dang near as skilled at some of these sections as any other top runner, but unfortunately for him, he has that 1.5 minute plus deficit that it's very unlikely for him to be able to make it up at this point.
Yeah, it gets rough once, that second half of Misty Woods happens. Big mistakes start, that chance for big mistakes starts slimming drastically.
And as MrRandomson approaches the grenade tree, he is on what looks like incredibly good pace, potentially high 30 looking in the cards for him. We'll see how that goes. It's a lot easier to get a sense as he gets closer to the grenade tree. But again, still no major mistakes, no minor mistakes in a long time. Randomson is playing really well as well, but right now he is at climb tree and MrRaziel is approaching grenade. That's a big difference.
Absolutely. MrRaziel has to be proud of how he's been playing so far.
He does manage to avoid what would be a hilariously catastrophic mistake of failing to skip this cutscene. Ooh, Randomson having some very exciting moments with a Frankie, but manages to survive, fortunately. So hopefully he will not take any deaths on the way out of Misty here. We'll see if he even opts to drop a safety save. If you're this far behind, sometimes you'll just say, no, I'm going to play like PB strats, basically.
Right. And I wonder at this point if he knows that, I mean, I'm sure he knows from the mistakes he's made that he's behind. I wonder if he's taken a look at where his opponent is and knows how far behind he is.
Ooh, boy. Oh, wow. That was a sketchy rocket jump for Randomson, but he managed to recover. Did not hit the meatballs, most importantly. From the one damage he took from the slime right before the rocket jump, it could have been a really bad situation, but fortunately he's all good. Manages to get most of the bang zoom quick kill executed properly.
Got that last minute stomp, so.
What is happening for MrRaziel?
Oh.
What?
Was that a crash? Wait, what happened?
I'm really confused. I'm not sure what happened for him. This is kind of an interesting time loss. He's back to Blackroot Burrows. That's actually a really large time loss.
Very big.
Wow. Okay, so he's still at the grenade tree. This actually is still not within striking distance for Randomson yet, but another thing like that happening, I don't even know what that was, but if that happens again, that could actually give Randomson a chance to catch up. I cannot believe that that just happened.
And, you know, hopefully that hasn't affected MrRaziel mentally at all, because that was something strange. And that was a decent amount of time loss.
Yeah, I want to note something that's not always obvious to newer runners or people who aren't familiar with the game. When you teleport at a spirit well, it does not save the game for you. What it does do is set a checkpoint. And the checkpoint means... Wow, MrRaziel, I don't know what's happening to him. This is really weird. So the checkpoint does not mean that you... like reload there if you exit the game, but if you die you will respawn there, and when you die and respawn, that does save the game. But unfortunately MrRaziel had not done that, so he did not have a save there. He had to go all the way back to Blackroot Burrows, which is where Randomson is leaving right now. But unfortunately for him, MrRaziel is still a minute and a half ahead at the door to Mount Horu.
So you think MrRaziel gonna get first try door warp here?
Doubtless, yeah. Especially after that crash, he'll be like absolutely intent on pulling off that first try door warp you just saw.
And he just does it like it's nothing.
A perfect escape. MrRaziel is going to show us some incredibly fast play here.
Yeah, what's interesting to see, and we saw a bit with MrRaziel on his going towards Horu, that if someone who's not too familiar with Ori or the speedrun, is because both these runners got the Kuro cutscene skip, they have to rocket jump off that Frankie to go over the cutscene trigger, and MrRaziel missed his rocket jump, so he had to kind of improvise a little bit to get around that cutscene trigger.
Yeah, it was a pretty weird situation that he had problems with both times, but fortunately it has not held him back from reaching the end of the escape. But what could hold him back, he's got 5 HP, and this swim looks very questionable.
Oh, no.
Take a death. Randomson is at the door to Mount Horu now. Just a door warp separating him from the final escape right now. So this is absolutely...
This is getting closer.
Yeah, and wow. Just wow.
It's still probably not that close, but we're getting closer to that grenade jump. Really would start tilting this lead even more, but Randomson having some difficulty with this door warp.
But there he is. But fortunately for MrRaziel, he is able to make it through the swim. He makes sure not to bash directly into that wall. That gives you an increased soft block chance. Now he's going to position, aim his grenade jump, and get it first try.
Makes it look simple. Beautiful.
And he guarantees that Randomson cannot catch up now, as he just needs to hold right for a little bit longer. So what a turn of events, but MrRaziel managing to salvage a victory from what could have been really, really tragic.
Yeah, GG to MrRaziel. We will get to that final time here very soon. But, you know, don't take your eye off Randomson on the right here. Finishing up very strong still. And honestly, not too far behind.
Yeah, and this time for him is going to be very good as well, being that his PB is a 31. He'll be within a minute and a half of that, or 2 minutes or whatever. So he's getting through the swim successfully, getting to the top of the wall, getting in the right spot, presses the buttons 1 frame apart, and there you go. GG to Randomson as well.
Easy as that. So MrRaziel finishing with a 32-43. It's a very nice time.
Yeah, both of them pulling off really successful races here. MrRaziel, really the only spaghetti in this run was not of his own making with that. I don't even know what occurred there.
Yeah,
wow.
I'm not sure, but that was probably, what, a good minute time loss?
Yeah, and I mean, with only that, that wouldn't have been enough, but it also was combined with the final escape swim death. That one, you could even potentially chalk up to just being thrown off by the crash. But really, just a solid performance by MrRaziel, and also by Randomson, who finishes up with a 33-34.
Yeah, it was a very close race from the start. You know, you just saw MrRaziel slowly gaining out that lead as the run went on, and really solidified it by, when halfway through the run, really solidified his place in the lead.
Yep, and that also, for him, snags a trip to the round of 16, the divisional finals. He is now locked in for that, as Randomson will fall to the lower finals. He still is in the tournament, and he will face the victor of Covert, Muffin, and Fant when that match takes place. So still some very good competitors available to face off against MrRaziel. That is quite something to look forward to. But for now, we are joined by both racers, MrRaziel and MrRandomson. And I'm just going to start with the obvious question. For you, MrRaziel, GG on the race, of course, but what the heck happened at the end there?
GG Randomson. I'm gonna try not to curse on stream. My game just crashed. So yeah, I don't know. I just had that pop-up saying that the game crashed, and I didn't know what to do, so I clicked enter. So I should have saved before actually crashing the game, so I had to restart.
Oh wow.
And I was super nervous after that. Yeah, I didn't have the stream up, so I had no idea. I just thought, okay, yeah, I'm gonna lose for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as someone not watching the restream, did that make you really nervous?
Yeah, I was super nervous at the end. I completely messed up the swimming on the first escape. So yeah, that was something.
Well, we're really glad that that did not affect the outcome of the race. You had managed, with your incredible play through the entire run, to set up a 2.5 minute advantage. So you were able to absorb both of those problems, which was very fortunate for you. Randomson, of course, GG to you as well. You know, obviously you'll be knocked down to the lower bracket, but you still have a chance to continue. Overall, looking at your performance tonight, how did you feel? Were you satisfied? Did you think you played up to your standards? Do you think you could have, you know, would have wanted to do a little better?
Well, you saw the fast stompless, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't complain too much. Yeah, I'll say I'm happy with it. And of course, GG Raz. When I saw that you were out of the game, I saw a black box. That kind of scared me.
You have no idea how much it scared me.
So I have to, I was very curious throughout the entire race, Randomson. How much were you watching Raziel throughout it? Because I know you stated at the beginning that you might ignore the restream.
Yeah, I watched it throughout and saw I was neck and neck for the most part. But then Fast Stompless happened. Or maybe some part before that, I'm not sure. But yeah, I knew where I was.
Yeah, Fast Stompless was certainly the real and unfortunate difference maker. But it's not worth dwelling on necessarily. Like, sometimes the trick gets in your head and things like that happen. But overall, your play in the race was really solid. Going forward, of course, Randomson, you'll be facing the winner of Fant and Muffin. Both of those runners are really good, but also both of their PBs are not as good as yours. So I'm just wondering, how do you feel about that race?
Nervous as always. No matter who I face, always nervous.
Zik, I know that feeling. How about you?
Absolutely. So Raziel, looking at the brackets and what could potentially happen, what are your plans for waiting for your next match and the potential for a rematch here almost?
I was very nervous today that I would have another choke like I had against Hobbs, and that would probably mean, well, I don't believe I get a third chance. And I really wanted to win this game, because now I mean, against either Randomson or Fant or Muffin, I may lose one race, but I'm pretty sure that in two I will be able to win one. So that's pretty good. And also, I just wanted to thank Tara for the 2 beer strats. That's pretty awesome.
Oh gosh, yeah, we did actually mention that during the run. It was pretty funny. But yeah, you seemed like your performance seemed a lot more at ease in this race. You certainly were able to cut out like basically all the spaghetti, and the only spaghetti that you had was at the end after the game just decided I'm gonna crash on you. So definitely hard to say that you did not play an incredibly good race today. And congrats on earning that victory.
Thank you.
Zik, you got anything else for our 2 runners today?
No, I think I'm pretty good on questions. Do you have anything else?
No, I'm happy. I'm always happy when I get to watch 2 incredibly skilled runners put on a good show. Including any of the weird stuff that happens, because that's the story for you.
It just happens.
Weird things, yeah.
GG to both you guys. It was a great race.
All right, Zik. What do we have next?
Next up, we have a match between the Roos is Loose and Uncle Ronnie, which again should be another great match. We just have a lot of good matches set up for the day.
Yeah, and this one will be a real treat. It's always a special pleasure to watch a world record holder or any of the 28 holding runners doing a race, and we'll be really looking forward to that. But for now, we're going to go to a quick break. It'll be about 15 minutes. We'll come on back at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and we're still on Speed Gaming 2. Also, stick around. We are switching restreamers at this point. I want to give a huge shout out to Richard and Sigma, who are our 2 restreamers today, doing a crap load of matches each, half the day each, and we have a lot of matches today. But we'll be switching to Sigma now, so sit tight. The stream will go down and then come right back up. You won't even notice.
Oh man.